chers compatriotes,
Dear fellow
c'est avec
citizens,
beaucoup de tristesse et d'émotion que
it's
je
with great
m'adresse à vous ce
sadness
soir.
and emotion that I'm talking to you this
Président Jacques
evening.
Chirac
President Jacques Chirac departed this morning.
Français,
The French
perdons un
people
homme d'État
have lost
que nous aimions
a
autant
statesman that we loved as dearly as he loved
que les
us.
40 années de vie politique avaient fait de Jacques Chirac
After more than 40 years of political life, Jacques Chirac had become a very familiar figure. Whether we shared his ideas or
nous
his
reconnaissions tous.
struggles, we can all recognize ourselves in this man who brought us together and was similar to us. He was the grandson of a teacher. He became a civil servant, a minister. He headed the Regional Council of Corrèze. He was the mayor of Paris. He was a minister, prime minister, and the president of France. He held so many high offices in our republic, but he never forgot his roots. He was a leader who represented the diversity and the complexity of the French nation. He was a child of the region of Corrèze. He was happy to live in France, whether it be in Paris or in the provinces, whether it was overseas or in mainland France. He embodied an idea of France that he was anxious to unify, to bring about cohesion, and he protected bravely against extremism and hatred. A France that looked courageously at its history, and in his speech at the Veldiv, he recognized the responsibility of France in its darkest hours of the Second World War. 12 years later, he held up those who had defended the Jews during the Second World War as an example, an independent and proud France that could rise up against an unjustified military intervention when he refused the intervention in Iraq without a resolution of the United Nations, and also when he intervened in former Yugoslavia and when he tried to restore peace and security in Lebanon. A France that shoulders its historical role as a universal conscience. President Chirac embodied a certain idea of the world. He defended a Europe of people rather than a Europe of markets, a stronger Europe that would protect people based on a resolute friendship between France and Germany. He made commitments in favor of the climate early on. Jacques Chirac saw history over the longer period, and he saw how fragile life could be. The house is burning, he said. That was a cry that he let out. He begged the leaders of the world to intervene to protect the environment and fight against climate change. He's a statesman who really understood the historical dimension, but he was a man amongst other men, a human amongst other humans. He rejected any threat to the viability of our planet. His main struggle was to respect differences and diversity. He said all forms of art are equal. They are all testify to a soul and a spirit. They all have to be protected and promoted. And this is precisely what he did in initiating the creation of a museum that now has his name, where the arts are from Oceania, Africa, from Asia, from South America, all come together. Yes, an idea of France, an idea of the world, an idea of exchange and trade and cooperation. This evening, President Chirac is mourned in our country, but he's mourned throughout Europe as well, and also on that lovely continent of Africa that was so dear to his heart, and in the rest of the world. Jacques Chirac was a great Frenchman, free. He loved our territory, our country. He loved our culture. The farmers and industrialists were fond of him. He took a lot of time to talk with a factory worker and great artists. He was fond of people. He loved people, no matter in their diversity, whatever their occupation, whatever their background. He loved people. He loved to talk to them, to smile at them, to chat, to embrace them. The most humble, the most fragile, the most vulnerable and weak, were his great cause. He tirelessly fought for those who were suffering from cancer or AIDS, who were disabled, those who had been ill-treated by life. For him, there was no hierarchy in backgrounds, in status. No, they were men and women, and they all deserved his full attention and his full affection. Jacques Chirac was a French destiny. In Corrèze, he went into political life, and then he moved to Paris for many decades. He experienced the full gamut of political life in our country. These were years where a huge amount of energy was deployed with enthusiasm, vitality, many successes and some failures and setbacks, some disappointments, loyal friendships. For so long, we hesitated to love him, and gradually over the years we developed strong ties of affection with Jacques Chirac. He also was a man who suffered disappointments and tragedies in his private life, but he was somebody who was very quiet about all of this and kept it to himself. He withdrew into the silence, in the silence over the last few years, because there are some scars that life leaves us that you cannot recover from, that you carry always. People, his close family and friends, went to visit him, and they saw this process of silence. But he was always somebody who loved deeply his country, France, and the French people. After 25 years, you chose to vote for him, and his destiny is now inscribed in that of those who led this country, General de Gaulle and Pompidou, with whom he had such close ties. Each of his predecessors, President Giscard d'Estaing, President Mitterrand, to whom he paid such fine tribute when he died. There are many mysteries that escape us all. But for Jacques Chirac this evening, we feel gratitude. He did so much for our nation, for our values, fraternity and tolerance. Throughout his life, he thought of the French Republic and worked with that in mind. We remember him with emotion and affection. We remember his freedom, his personality, his ability to combine simplicity and greatness, proximity and discipline, love for his country, and an openness to the world. On your behalf, I would like to express to Madame Chirac our friendship and our sympathy, our condolences to his daughter, his grandson, his family, and all of those who knew him well, who accompanied him for many years in his career and his life. The Élysée will be open this evening so that the French people can come and write their condolences and pay their respects. On the 30th September, there will be a national day of mourning, and there will be a ceremony in honor of Jacques Chirac at midday. Fellow countrymen, French people, let us henceforth carry within us that this part of history that is tied to Jacques Chirac. Let us be aware of what we owe him. Let us be grateful for what he has bequeathed to us. He enters into history, and we will all miss him henceforth. Thank you.